Welcome to my channel, Coin Worth Million. Today video is one you won't to miss. We're diving into the world of coins, top 5 1 dime. So let's get it started. In the wide and intricate history of American coinage, few pieces reflect the economic transitions, political commemorations, and the evolving philosophy of public trust in coinage more clearly than the 1967 United States of America 1 dime. At first glance, this small, nearly ubiquitous coin may seem insignificant. A mere tool of commerce passed from hand to hand with little notice. Yet upon closer examination, it becomes a fascinating relic of a nation at a crossroads, not only in monetary policy, but also in its cultural memory. To understand the 1967 Roosevelt dime fully is to journey through the turbulent years of the 1960s, a time when the United States faced inflationary pressures, redefined its coinage materials, and honored a beloved president whose influence had shaped a generation. The Roosevelt dime first entered circulation in 1946, introduced just 1 year after the death of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States. Roosevelt had been a towering figure in American politics, serving 4 terms and leading the country through both the Great Depression and World War II. His legacy was deeply entwined with the social programs of the New Deal and the fight against polio, a disease from which he himself suffered, and which the March of Dimes campaign sought to eradicate. The coin served as both a practical object and a commemorative artifact, minted initially with a composition of 90% silver and 10% copper, a standard that had been used for decades in American dimes. However, the year 1967 was not like the years that came before it. Just 2 years earlier, in 1965, the United States Congress passed the Coinage Act of 1965, a sweeping piece of legislation that radically altered the metallic content of the nation's dimes, quarters, and half dollars. This legislation emerged in response to a growing coin shortage that had plagued the nation since the early 1960s. As silver prices climbed, many Americans began hoarding coins made of the precious metal, removing them from circulation. This behavior created bottlenecks in the availability of everyday change, which in turn complicated ordinary economic transactions. The government needed a solution that would both stabilize the monetary system and restore public confidence in the availability and value of coins. That solution was the copper nickel-clad coin. Thus, the 1967 Roosevelt dime, like those of 1965 and 1966, was minted using a clad composition, specifically with outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel, bonded to a pure copper core. This gave the dime a silvery appearance without the intrinsic value of silver. The move was a calculated balance between tradition and economic pragmatism. The new coin still looked much like its silver predecessor, preserving continuity in commerce, while simultaneously curbing the hoarding that had crippled the availability of silver coinage. The transition to clad coinage marked a significant philosophical shift in U.S. currency design. Coins were no longer valued for their metal content, but for the faith and credit of the United States government. One key feature that distinguishes the 1967 dime from many other dimes is the absence of a mint mark. Ordinarily, coins bear a small letter, indicating the U.S. Mint facility where they were struck. P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, and S for San Francisco. But from 1965 through 1967, the Mint intentionally omitted mint marks, as part of a broader strategy to discourage collecting by year and mint location. Officials hoped that by eliminating these identifying marks, they would reduce public speculation and hoarding, thereby increasing the coin's chances of remaining in circulation. As a result, every 1967 dime, regardless of its origin, bears no mint mark, a decision that adds a layer of mystery for numismatists and poses a challenge in tracing specific mint outputs for that year. The physical design of the 1967 dime remained consistent with earlier Roosevelt dimes. On the obverse, front, we find a left-facing profile of President Roosevelt, sculpted by John R. Sinek, who was the chief engraver of the U.S. Mint at the time the design was introduced. The portrait is crisp and dignified, capturing Roosevelt's determined jawline and thoughtful expression. Around the portrait are the inscriptions "Liberty" to the left, "In God We Trust" near the bottom left, and the date 1967 to the right. Just beneath Roosevelt's neck, one can see the initials JS, which caused a minor controversy in the coin's early days when conspiracy theorists mistakenly claimed they stood for Joseph Stalin rather than John Sinek. The reverse of the coin is symbolic and elegant. It features a flaming torch in the center, flanked by an olive branch on the left and an oak branch on the right. These elements together represent liberty, peace, and strength, the values Roosevelt held dear. Above the torch and branches is the inscription "United States of America," and below the denomination "1 dime." The Latin motto "E pluribus unum," meaning "out of many one," is nestled between the torch and branches, a timeless reminder of the nation's unity and diversity. Despite being made in enormous quantities, over 2.24 billion dimes were struck in 1967. The Roosevelt dime of that year was not distributed with proof sets, as had been the custom in previous decades. Instead, the Mint issued special mint sets, SMS, in 1967, continuing a practice that had begun in 1965. These sets were designed for collectors and featured coins with a higher quality finish than standard circulation strikes, though they lacked the deep mirror-like appearance of true proof coins. The SMS coins had a satin-like surface and were struck more carefully, often using polished dies. Each special mint set contained a penny, nickel, dime, quarter, and $half, all without mint marks. While not rare, SMS dimes from 1967 are relatively more collectible, particularly when found in pristine condition with sharp details and minimal blemishes. In higher grades, especially those certified as SP67 or SP68, indicating a high-quality strike and surface preservation, these dimes can command premiums well above face value. The absence of mint marks and the sheer scale of production have limited the number of recognized varieties for the 1967 dime. Unlike some earlier or later dates where collectors can chase after rare double-die strikes, repunched mint marks, or notable die breaks, the 1967 issue is relatively uniform in appearance. Nevertheless, some error coins from this year have surfaced, including off-center strikes, clipped planchets, where part of the blank metal disc is missing, and occasional die cracks. These errors, though rare, are prized by collectors not only for their novelty, but also for the glimpse they offer into the complex and sometimes flawed process of mass coin production. In terms of market value, the 1967 dime typically holds little premium above face value when circulated. Millions of examples are still in everyday use, and their clad composition offers no intrinsic metal value. However, uncirculated coins, especially those preserved in original rolls or found in mint sets, may sell for modest premiums, especially if graded by professional services and found to have high-quality surfaces. The most valuable 1967 dimes are typically those from the SMS series, with designations like full torch or full bands, indicating that the horizontal lines at the base of the torch on the reverse are sharply struck and fully visible. These designations are important to numismatists who specialize in Roosevelt dimes, as they reflect the technical precision of the strike and the care taken during minting. Beyond its technical and collectible characteristics, the 1967 Roosevelt dime occupies a unique place in the cultural and economic narrative of the United States. It is a coin that bridges two worlds, the silver coinage of the past and the fiat currency of the modern era. It represents a moment when the United States reasserted control over its coinage, adapting to the economic pressures of inflation and speculation. At the same time, it preserves the image of a president who inspired confidence and unity in the American people during their darkest hours. The torch, olive branch, and oak branch on the reverse are not merely decorative motifs. They are symbols of a nation's enduring ideals, minted into metal for every citizen to carry. For collectors, the 1967 dime may not be a crown jewel in eye. Terms of rarity or value, but it offers something arguably more valuable. Accessibility. It invites new numismatists to begin their journey with a coin they might already possess in a jar or drawer, a tangible piece of history that costs just 10 cents. It teaches the importance of context, how a small change in composition or policy can ripple through the economy and into the hands of millions. And it reminds us that even the humblest of objects, when examined with care, can reveal profound insights into a nation's character and values. In conclusion, the 1967 United States, one dime is more than just a coin. It is a historical artifact, a memorial to a transformative president, a reflection of economic adaptation, and a symbol of national unity. Through its design, its material, and its widespread circulation, it tells the story of an America in transition, an America confronting the limits of its traditions and boldly embracing the future. Whether viewed through the lens of economics, politics, design, or everyday use, this modest dime holds a story as rich and complex as the nation. It serves the 1997 United States of America, one-dime coin, a small yet deeply symbolic piece of American currency, represents not only the economic utility of coinage, but also the enduring legacy of American history, ideals, and craftsmanship. To fully appreciate the 1997 dime, one must examine its historical context, its design elements, production techniques, circulation patterns, economic role, and numismatic significance. Though modest in size and value, the dime embodies a wealth of information and meaning that bridges generations of Americans and numismatists alike. To begin, the term dime originates from the French word dîme, meaning tithe or tenth, reflecting its value as 1/10 of a US dollar. The dime has been a part of American coinage since the Coinage Act of 1792, which established the decimal-based monetary system that remains in place today. The 1997 dime, like its predecessors since 1946, features the image of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States, who served from 1933 to 1945. This iconic image was introduced shortly after Roosevelt's death as a tribute to his leadership during the Great Depression and World War II, and for his instrumental role in founding the March of Dimes, an initiative aimed at combating polio, a disease from which Roosevelt himself suffered. Designed by John R. Sinnock, the then chief engraver of the United States Mint, the Roosevelt dime was first struck in 1946. Sinnock's initials JS appear at the base of Roosevelt's neck on the obverse of the coin. The obverse of the 1997 dime follows this traditional design, featuring a left-facing portrait of Roosevelt with the inscriptions "Liberty" to the left, "In God We Trust" below the chin, and the date 1997 to the right. The mint mark, denoting the facility where the coin was struck, is found above the date. In 1997, dimes were struck at both the Philadelphia Mint, denoted by a P, and the Denver Mint, denoted by a D. Proof versions were also struck at the San Francisco Mint and bear the S mint mark. The reverse of the 1997 dime, unchanged since 1946, was also designed by Sinnock. It features a torch at the center, symbolizing liberty, flanked by an olive branch on the left representing peace, and an oak branch on the right signifying strength and independence. The inscriptions include United States of America along the upper rim, E pluribus unum, Latin for out of many, one, beneath the torch, and one dime along the lower rim. This design encapsulates the core American values of unity, liberty, peace, and resilience. In terms of composition, the 1997 dime consists of a clad construction, a sandwich of layers, with outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel, bonded to a pure copper core. This composition has been standard since 1965, when the rising cost of silver led the U.S. Mint to discontinue the use of 90% silver in dimes and other small coins. As such, the 1997 dime does not contain any silver, distinguishing it from pre-1965 issues that are prized by collectors and investors for their bullion value. The clad composition provides durability and resistance to corrosion, allowing dimes to circulate effectively for decades. In terms of production, the U.S. Mint struck millions of dimes in 1997 to meet the demands of commerce. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 1.2 billion dimes, while the Denver Mint produced over 1.3 billion. The San Francisco Mint struck a more limited number of proof dimes, typically intended for collectors and included in annual proof sets. Proof coins are specially struck using polished dies and planchets to achieve a mirror-like finish and high detail contrast. These coins are not released into general circulation. Despite their ubiquity, the 1997 dime exhibits numerous characteristics of interest to numismatists and collectors. Variations in strike quality, die wear, and minting errors contribute to the value and intrigue of these coins. For example, some dimes may exhibit die cracks, die clashes, off-center strikes, or doubled dies, phenomena that occur during the minting process and are prized for their rarity. Although no major varieties of the 1997 dime are widely recognized, the meticulous examination of such coins by enthusiasts continues to yield discoveries that enhance our understanding of minting techniques and error classification. Circulation-wise, the 1997 dime has participated in billions of everyday transactions, from vending machines to cash registers, parking meters to piggy banks. Though often overlooked due to its small size, the dime holds significant purchasing power in aggregate and plays a critical role in change-making, especially when combined with other denominations. Its size, measuring 17.91 millimeters in diameter and weighing 2.268 grams, makes it the smallest and thinnest coin currently produced by the U.S. Mint. Economically, the dime remains an essential part of American currency. Despite inflation reducing its individual purchasing power over the decades, its presence facilitates accurate transactions and provides a tangible sense of value. In 1997, a dime could still purchase small goods, such as a newspaper or a candy, although its economic utility has gradually diminished. Nevertheless, it continues to occupy a necessary niche in physical commerce, particularly in exact change scenarios. Numismatically, the 1997 Roosevelt dime is typically considered common and accessible, making it an ideal entry point for beginner collectors. Its abundance ensures that circulated examples hold minimal premium over face value. However, uncirculated coins in pristine condition, especially those graded MS67 or higher by professional grading services such as PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, may command modest premiums. Proof versions, especially those with deep cameo contrast, are more valuable and collectible, especially when preserved in original U.S. Mint packaging. Beyond its tangible characteristics, the 1997 dime serves as a symbol of continuity, legacy, and civic identity. By retaining the same design for over half a century, the dime reinforces the enduring legacy of Franklin D. Roosevelt and his New Deal policies that reshaped American society. It stands as a pocket-sized tribute to a leader who steered the nation through some of its most challenging eras. Furthermore, the March of Dimes, which continues its mission today to improve the health of mothers and babies, keeps Roosevelt's vision alive, adding emotional and philanthropic resonance to the coin's design. In the broader scope of American numismatics, the Roosevelt dime bridges the mid-20th century to the present day. It reflects the shift in minting technology, from manual and mechanical processes to advanced automation and digital design tools. It also embodies changes in public attitudes toward coin collecting, currency design, and economic utility. As coins increasingly become relics in a digital economy dominated by credit cards and electronic payments, each dime, including those from 1997, becomes a more poignant artifact of a gradually receding monetary tradition. Moreover, the 1997 dime can be analyzed through the lens of cultural history. It was minted in a decade marked by peace and prosperity in the United States, with rapid technological advancement, low unemployment, and rising globalization. Holding a 1997 dime today evokes a sense of nostalgia for that era, a time before smartphones, social media, and the post-9/11 world. For those who came of age during the 1990s, the 1997 dime might represent allowance money, arcade tokens, or the sound of loose change in a denim pocket. As with many circulated coins, the physical journey of a 1997 dime is unknowable but fascinating to consider. A single coin may have passed through thousands of hands, belonging to workers, children, travelers, or the elderly, each interaction shaping the coin's appearance through wear and tear. It may have sat in a jar, rolled down a drain, or helped complete a collection. Every scratch, nick, or patina tells a silent story of commerce, necessity, and movement. In conclusion, the 1997 United States of America 1 dime is more than just a 10-cent piece. It is a compact narrative of American life, values, and artistry. From its Roosevelt portrait to its symbolic reverse, from its copper-nickel composition to its everyday use, the coin encapsulates the story of a nation and its people. While it may seem insignificant in isolation, the dime's cumulative role in daily life, commerce, and collective memory is immense. For collectors, historians, and citizens alike, the 1997 dime remains a humble yet powerful token of American identity and continuity. The 1968 United States of America 1 dime coin is an emblem of monetary transition, national remembrance, and evolving minting practices that characterized the mid-20th century in America. Though diminutive in size, the dime carries immense historical, cultural, and economic symbolism. The 1968 issue, in particular, serves as a valuable reference point in the numismatic study of post-silver American coinage, the legacy of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and the shifting identity of U.S. mint operations. To understand the full importance of the 1968 dime, we must consider its historical context, the technical and design specifications that define it, the socio-economic environment of the time, and the significance it holds for collectors and everyday citizens alike. The dime, or 10-cent coin, has been a fundamental part of the American currency system since the Coinage Act of 1792 established the U.S. Mint and authorized the production of decimal coinage. Its name derives from the French word dime, meaning tenth, a nod to its position as 1/10 of a dollar. The Roosevelt dime design was introduced in 1946, immediately following the death of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who had served from 1933 to 1945. The decision to honor Roosevelt was not arbitrary. He was a president widely beloved for his leadership during the Great Depression and World War II. Additionally, Roosevelt's personal battle with polio and his founding of the March of Dimes in 1938 made the 10-cent coin an especially appropriate medium to honor his memory. The 1968 Roosevelt dime retains the design introduced in 1946 by John R. Sinnock, the 8th chief engraver of the United States Mint. On the obverse, it features a left-facing portrait of Franklin D. Roosevelt, with the inscriptions, "Liberty" to the left, "In God We Trust" below his chin, and the date 1968 positioned to the lower right. Above the date is the mint mark, indicating which minting facility produced the coin. The designer's initials, JS, appear at the truncation of Roosevelt's neck. On the reverse, the design features a central torch symbolizing liberty, flanked by an olive branch to the left, representing peace, and an oak branch to the right, signifying strength and independence. Surrounding these motifs are the inscriptions, United States of America, E Pluribus Unum, and 1 dime. One of the most pivotal aspects of the 1968 dime is its composition. It was among the earliest dimes to be produced fully, under the post-1965 Coinage Act mandate, which removed silver from dimes and quarters due to rising bullion prices. Prior to this, dimes had been composed of 90% silver and 10% copper. The 1968 dime, by contrast, is a clad coin. consisting of an inner core of pure copper sandwiched between two outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel. This composition was designed to emulate the appearance of silver while reducing production costs and curbing the hoarding that followed the decline in silver content. The transition to clad coinage in 1965 marked a monumental change in American numismatics and has had lasting implications for both currency and collectors. Production of the 1968 dime was undertaken at 3 U.S. mint facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. However, it was a year of transition in minting practices. Most significantly, 1968 marked the return of mint marks to U.S. coinage, after their absence from 1965 through 1967. During that hiatus, mint marks were omitted as part of an anti-hoarding strategy to make coins appear uniform and discourage speculation. Their reinstatement in 1968 was met with enthusiasm by collectors and signaled a return to traditional numismatic standards. Coins from the Denver Mint bear a D mint mark, and San Francisco proof coins bear an S. Interestingly, while the Philadelphia Mint resumed the production of dimes in 1968, circulation strike coins from that facility were not released, with a mint mark until 1980. Therefore, any 1968 dime without a mint mark was struck in Philadelphia. The proof coins of 1968 were exclusively minted at the San Francisco Mint. These are highly polished coins intended for collectors and were never meant for general circulation. They are struck using special dies and planchets that produce a mirror-like finish and a high level of detail. These coins are distinguishable by their sharp contrast and the S mint mark, and they were issued as part of the annual proof set sold directly to the public by the U.S. Mint. For collectors, the 1968 S proof dime is a cornerstone of the proof set and a snapshot of numismatic precision during a decade of technical innovation. From a mintage perspective, the production numbers for 1968 dimes reflect both widespread circulation and substantial collector interest. The Denver Mint struck over 480 million dimes, while Philadelphia produced a smaller, yet still significant number. The San Francisco Mint minted just under 3 million proof dimes for collector sets. These figures underscore the widespread economic reliance on the dime as a functional piece of currency, while also highlighting its dual role as an object of numismatic interest. In terms of circulation, the 1968 dime would have seen wide usage in everyday American life. It was used in purchasing everything from bus fares to candy bars, and from vending machines to payphones, objects that now belong to a bygone era. The dime's continued presence in commerce helped maintain its relevance, even as inflation began to reduce its purchasing power. In 1968, a dime could still buy a bottle of soda, a newspaper, or a phone call, an indication of how significantly the economy has changed in the decades since. Yet the coin remained indispensable as part of the transactional fabric of American society. Condition and grading are crucial in assessing the collector value of the 1968 dime. Most circulated examples are worth little more than face value, but uncirculated coins, particularly those graded MS-65 or higher, can command premiums from collectors. Proof versions are especially sought after when in pristine condition with deep cameo contrast. Anomalies and errors, such as doubled dies, off-center strikes, or die breaks, also add to a coin's intrigue and value. In particular, sharp-eyed collectors continually examine 1968 dimes for transitional errors, such as misstrikes or unusual planchet characteristics from the post-silver transition years. The reintroduction of the mint mark in 1968 marked a restoration of tradition that had been temporarily suspended in the wake of the Coinage Act of 1965. This move, though bureaucratic, resonated emotionally with collectors and symbolized a renewed commitment to the continuity of American coinage practices. Collectors and historians often look to the 1968 dime as a bellwether of the post-silver numismatic era, an era when practicality and cost efficiency began to outweigh precious metal content in currency design. Culturally, the 1968 dime was born in a period of immense social and political upheaval in the United States. It was a year marked by the assassinations of Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert F. Kennedy, intense civil rights activism, the escalation of the Vietnam War, and generational shifts that redefined the American consciousness. Against this backdrop, the dime, with its conservative design and homage to a wartime president, offered a sense of stability and continuity. In many ways, it served as a subtle counterpoint to the chaos of the times, grounding Americans in familiar national iconography and values. The physical characteristics of the 1968 dime remain unchanged from the standard specifications of the Roosevelt dime series. The coin has a diameter of 17.91 millimeters, a thickness of 1.35 millimeters, and a weight of 2.268 grams. Its reeded edge contains 118 grooves, a feature intended originally to prevent coin clipping, and which has since become a defining tactile element. These measurements have remained consistent across decades, lending the Roosevelt dime its unmistakable form. For numismatists, the 1968 Roosevelt dime stands as an important transition piece, post-silver, post-mint mark hiatus, and emerging from tumultuous era with its design and legacy intact. It represents a moment when coinage had to adapt to both economic realities and public perception. While it may not hold the dramatic intrinsic value of earlier silver coins, the 1968 dime commands attention for its place in the narrative arc of American coinage and its testament to technological evolution in minting. Today, over half a century later, 1968 dimes continue to circulate, though often unnoticed. Many have worn smooth, their once crisp details faded by decades of pocket use and cash register clinks. Yet each of these coins remains a quiet witness to American life, commerce, and memory. For some, a 1968 dime might evoke memories of childhood, purchases, lost coins in couch cushions, or treasures found in coin rolls. For collectors, it represents a subtle yet crucial chapter in the story of American coinage, humble in face value.